Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. I hope you all are doing good at your places. I am Muhammad Salman Imtiaz, outgoing president of Aligarh Muslim University Students Union. As we all are aware about this live Zoom session, in which we are going to listen an eminent scholar in the field of Islamic eschatology, Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein. We are going we are organizing this event in collaboration with Zaytuna Academy, which is situated in Aligarh. Before going to start the lecture, we are having a brief introduction about the mission and vision of Zaytuna Academy. Please make sure you make yourself adjusted at a peaceful corner from where you can listen this lecture without any disturbance. And it's a humble request, switch on your cameras and turn off your mic. So we should go through the lecture without any disturbance. Now I request Sister Khushbu to proceed with the introduction of Zaytuna Academy.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Dr. Khushbu. I have been working as a project manager at Zaytuna Academy since its first day. I welcome you all on behalf of Zaytuna Academy to this event where we all have gathered to listen to one of the most knowledgeable scholars of our times in the field of Islamic eschatology. And I'm really excited, and I'm sure you all are excited too, to learn from the Sheikh live. So before beginning the program, let's talk a bit about Zaytuna Academy. This organization was established 3 years back in 2020 under the leadership of Mustafa Tayyab at Aligarh in India, with the vision of holistically reviving and nurturing the humanity. Mustafa Tayyab Saab is a teacher, trainer, counselor, and a certified child psychologist. We at Zaytuna Academy envision, firstly, a society where each one of us realize the roles and responsibilities that we have been assigned with by our Creator, and then perform them mindfully and with sincere intentions. And number two, we also envision a society where people strive hard to qualify the criteria of being a human in a true sense. Because we all know that humans are not just anything. Because we all are aware that we have become a civilization that is drowned in narcissism. So there need to be at least some parameters for us to fully understand what it is to be a human, an Islamic paradigm, and what our Creator actually expects from us. And in that case, we are blessed to have those standards specified by our Creator for us in the Quran. So now, in order to achieve these objectives, Zaytuna Academy conducts various workshops and courses for parents because we realize that ours is an era of childhood crisis and educational breakdown. We do need an education system that is capable of nurturing the intellectual, the psychological, and the spiritual unfolding of the child. Online and offline lectures for the masses we arrange. We have counseling sessions in context with the several sorts of addictions, disorders, and problems related to our youth. We also have counseling sessions for the children with learning disabilities, disorders, and mental trauma, even. Sessions also for divorce issues, married couples, and stressed family relationships. We are also into organizing awareness and outreach programs and many other things from time to time, inside or outside Aligarh. And most recently, the activity that we are into is the anti-drug campaign that we have been launching since last few months across different states of India. And we even try to talk upon and address the crises and challenges of the present century that have undoubtedly been detrimental to our existence and the existence of our present and future generations as well. We deeply believe that the mother of all crises that we are facing today is the spiritual crisis, and thus we work hard to bring our surroundings to the realization of this truth. So this is in brief what we actually or basically believe in and putting our efforts into. We aim at reforming hearts. We aim at reforming paradigms. And mashallah, by the will of Allah, the lives are reformed. Relevant to the work that we are trying to do, I feel it important and a part of my responsibility to quote Sayyid Muhammad Naqibul Attas, a Malaysian philosopher and a writer. He is being really profound in his words when he says that there are three things, or I would rather call them three sequences. So three sequences: change, development, progress. What are the three sequences? Change, development, progress. These three things, according to the Islamic viewpoint, refer to the return to the genuine Islam that was enunciated and practiced by the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his noble companions and their followers, and the faith and practice of genuine Muslims after them. And these very same three sequences, which are change, development, and progress, they also refer to the self, and they mean its return to its original nature and religion, and that is Islam. And this statement says it all. So, with this, I end my part. Thank you so much. Jazakallah for listening to me. Now, respected host, over to you.
Thank you. This was the working of the Zaytuna Academy, which you were listening. I'm starting this session with an ayah of Qur'an. Truly, we did offer al-amana, trust, moral responsibility, and all the duties that Allah ordained to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they declined to bear it and were afraid of it, afraid of Allah's torment. But man bore it. Verily, he was unjust to himself and ignorant of its result. As we are going to start this wonderful lecture, there are certain guidelines which I want to convey to you. As we have seen in the Sheikh lecture, there are very much questions which audience should be asked. So it's my humble request to all of you, please, as we are in the online session, so we have a certain limitations. So you should drop your questions and queries in the chat box. If you can see in the chat box, there is a name Zaytuna Academy. You can directly send your questions or queries to that Zaytuna Academy, so we can easily assess your questions and ask with the Sheikh's permission. And inshallah, after a while, we are having Sheikh Imran Hosein Sahab. This lecture is also a live broadcast on YouTube channel of Zaytuna Academy. If anyone of your related not able to join the program through Zoom, he or she can see the program through YouTube channel also. Sheikh Imran Hosein Sahab was very excited yesterday, as Aligarh Muslim University is the alma mater of his mentor, Sheikh Maulana Fazlur Rahman Ansari Sahab. So he was very curious and excited to deliver a lecture through the platform of Aligarh. So, inshallah, after a while, we are having Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, I'm audible to you?
Okay.
Sheikh, I'm audible to you?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
Okay. I'm also hearing you. Can we
I'm
proceed?
hearing you. Alhamdulillah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. As we greet you on this 7th day of Rabiul Sani in the year 1445 from Aligarh with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you all are doing good, as today we are having a renowned scholar in the field of Islamic eschatology in modern age, whose services towards Islam are not unknown to this world. Yes, today we are going to listen Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein, and personally I consider him my ustad, whom I learned a lot and is still learning from his knowledge of the Qur'an and Sunnah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But before going to start the lecture, I am privileged to have a brief introduction about the eminent scholar Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein. Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein was born in the Caribbean island of Trinidad in 1942, whose ancestors had migrated from India. He is a graduate of the Alimia Institute in Karachi and has studied at several institutions of higher learning, including the University of Karachi, the University of the West Indies, Al Azhar University, and the Graduate Institute of International Relations in Switzerland. He worked for several years as a Foreign Service officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago, but gave up his job in 1985 to devote his life to the mission of Islam. He has also lived in New York for 10 years, during which time he served as the Director of Islamic Studies for the Joint Committee of Muslim Organizations of Greater New York. He lectured on Islam in several American and Canadian universities, colleges, churches, synagogues, prisons, community hall, etc. He also participated in many interfaith dialogues with Christian and Jewish scholars while representing Islam in United States of America. He was the Imam for some time at Masjid Dar al-Qur'an, which is a very renowned mosque in Long Island in New York. He also led the weekly Jummah prayers and delivered the sermons at the United Nations headquarters in Manhattan once a month for 10 years continuously. He is a former principal of Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Karachi, Pakistan, director of research of the World Muslim Congress in Karachi, Pakistan, director of the Islamic Institute for Education and Research in Miami, Florida, and director of Dawa for Tanzim-e-Islami of North America. He has traveled continuously and extensively around the world on Islamic lecture tours since graduating days from the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in 1971 at the age of 29. And he has also written more than a dozen books on Islam that have invariably been received with public respect. Indeed, Jerusalem in the Qur'an, an Islamic view of the destiny of Jerusalem, has become a bestseller and has been translated and published in several languages, which is the dire need to study this Jerusalem in the Quran in the modern current situation of Holy Land of Palestine. In short, if I say Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein provides a contemporary interpretation of Dajjal, the Antichrist, Gog and Magog, signs of the last day, and the modern banking system based on current geopolitical events and from an economic, historic, and religious perspective. Now, not taking much time of yours, as most of the participants are eagerly waiting to listen Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein. Sheikh, first of all, on behalf of Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, which is the alma mater of your beloved teacher, Maulana Fazlur Rahman Ansari, Rahmatullah Alayh, and on behalf of Zaytuna Academy, I welcome you. But before the lecture, there are some guidelines which has to be followed by all the participants. First of all, it's my humble request to all the participants, please switch on your camera and turn off your mics. So there should be no disturbance during the lecture, and after the lecture, there will be a question and answer session. For those who want to ask any question from Sheikh, can drop it in the chat box with your respective name, designation, and respective country. So we can easily address your question to Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein without any hindrances. And we will try to ask every question of yours from Sheikh, but due to time constraint, it might be possible that some of the question can't be asked. So I hope you people will understand our problem and don't be angry with us. Sheikh, it's an honor for me to host you, as we have decided this lecture for Aligarh as well as India. But Alhamdulillah, the audience is not only from India. Now this program is reached worldwide, as our participants in this live session are from United States of America, United Kingdom, Bangladesh, Belgium, Bulgaria, China, Canada, Indonesia, Pakistan, South Africa, Turkey, Yemen, UAE, Tanzania, Sweden, Mauritius, Malaysia, etc. So Jazakallahu khair. Now I request Ustad Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein to proceed the lecture. Ustad, now the platform of Aligarh is yours.
نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We begin with Allah's blessed name. We praise Him and we glorify Him as He ought to be praised and glorified. And we pray for peace and for blessings on all His noble messengers, on our father Adam, alayhi salam, our father Ibrahim, alayhi salam, on Moses, on David, on Solomon, on Jesus. Allah's blessings be upon them all and on the last of them all. Whether they believe in Him or they don't, it is irrelevant. The last of them all, the blessed Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. I greet you from the Caribbean island of Trinidad, far, far away from Hyderabad in the Deccan, from where my forefathers left on a ship 100 and something years ago to travel to the Caribbean. But my heart still remains with the Indian Muslim community and with Aligarh Muslim University, where I got my eschatology. Yes, Aligarh Muslim University contributed to my profile of Islamic scholarship. So I greet you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh there at Aligarh. And I'm grateful to Dr. Salman Imtiaz and to the Students' Union of the Aligarh Muslim University, as well as the Zaytuna Academy, for your kind invitation, which I readily accepted, to address you today on the subject of the Qur'an as the foundation of education and also of knowledge. Aligarh is responsible in a significant way for my profile of scholarship, which is different from that which comes from our institutions of higher Islamic learning, the Jamiatul Azhar, and the Darul Uloom in Deoband and other places. I have a different model or profile of scholarship from theirs, and so did my teacher, Maulana Dr. Fadlur Rahman Ansari, rahimahullah, who was educated at Aligarh, and so was his teacher, who was a shining light, shining on the scholarship of Aligarh University. I refer to Dr. Muhammad Iqbal. So in a sense, I'm coming back home today to Aligarh. But let me begin our address on this subject, this important subject of the Qur'an, as the foundation of education and of knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us in Suratul Kahf of the Qur'an that there will come a time when history will move to a different stage, different from everything which came before. And in that last age, or Akhiru Zaman, the model of scholarship that will be able to respond appropriately to the last age is the model of scholarship which comes from Khidr alayhi salam. And amongst those who came inspired by Khidr, one of the most eminent of all was Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi. And he pointed again and again and again and again to the importance of basar, internal, intuitive, spiritual insight. The Western world declared the scientific method is the road to knowledge. and the scientific method proclaimed from the mountain top that knowledge comes only from external observation, from rational inquiry, from experimentation. But the Qur'an said no, knowledge comes both externally and internally. And if you want to get to the most learned of all scholars, the one who will be able to understand and explain the world in Akhiru Zaman, or the end time, you have to travel to Majma'ul Bahrain, and there you will find him, and he is Khidr alayhi salam. What is Majma'ul Bahrain? Does the university anywhere around the world teach the subject? Majma'ul Bahrain is an ayah which has to be interpreted in order to be understood. It is not an ayah muhkama. It is an ayah mutashabiha. So it's not, you know, from Cape Town, the Table Mountain, you can look and see the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and you say, ah, there you are. That's where the two oceans are meeting. No, it's not literal. It is mutashabiha. It has to be interpreted to be understood. And Majma'ul Bahrain is the place where the two oceans of knowledge meet. And that is the ocean of knowledge externally acquired, and the ocean of knowledge which is internally received. If Aligarh University, Aligarh Muslim University, is to rise in splendor and dazzle the whole world of scholarship, not just Islamic world of scholarship, Aligarh Muslim University must reach scholarly soul for Majma'ul Bahrain, the place where the two oceans of knowledge meet, the world of knowledge that is externally acquired, and the world of knowledge that is internally received. And these two worlds of knowledge must be harmoniously integrated. And Iqbal, he learned from Rumi. And if you look at his splendid, his wonderful book, The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, the first two chapters, when I was a master's degree student in philosophy at Karachi University, I read those two chapters maybe 20 times and still could not understand Iqbal until I studied Suratul Kahf of the Quran. And then I understood Iqbal of the validity of knowledge, the philosophical validity of knowledge, which is acquired from a world beyond the material universe that the scientific method cannot reach. They say that this is the only world that can be understood, can be studied, can be observed. And therefore, this is the only world that exists. They say that there is no reality beyond the material reality. And so they exclude the scriptures. They exclude all knowledge that comes from Allah. And Iqbal responded, how beautifully he did. He said, Sitaro se aage jahan aur bhi hai. There are many worlds beyond the stars. Is Aligarh listening to Iqbal? There are many worlds beyond the stars. Sitaro se aage jahan aur bhi hai. And if you look at the title that he chose for his book, The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, It was a sign, it was a message being conveyed to classical Islamic scholarship, to conventional Islamic scholarship, that your model of scholarship is not working. You cannot take Western knowledge and put it in one compartment and let the students of Aligarh teach it, understand it, or study it, and then put Islamic knowledge in another compartment, another trade, and then you study this as two separate, independent compartments of knowledge. That is wrong. Iqbal is calling for the two worlds of knowledge to be harmoniously integrated. And that is what Iqbal did in his scholarship. And he called for the reconstruction of religious thought in Islam, meaning you need a new model of Islamic scholarship for Akhirul Zaman, for the end time. And who responded better to Iqbal than a student in the Department of Philosophy of Aligarh Muslim University, a student who was being taught for his doctoral degree in philosophy by that eminent scholar, Professor Dr. Sayyid Zafarul Hasan. That student of his was Muhammad Fazlur Rahman Ansari, and he produced his masterpiece in 2 volumes, The Quranic Foundations and Structure of Muslim Society. But there was another student in that class studying with him for a PhD in philosophy under the guidance of Professor Dr. Sayyid Zafarul Hasan, the Department of Philosophy of Aligarh Muslim University, and his name was Dr. Burhan Ahmad Farooqi. And if you read his doctoral thesis, the name of that thesis, the name of that book is A Mujaddid's Conception of Tawheed. Let me repeat it. A Mujaddid's Conception of Tawheed. And in that book, which you can download from the internet, remember Dr. Burhan Ahmad Farooqi. If you read that book, you can see where he analyzes the different consciousnesses in the man. He speaks about the rational consciousness. He speaks about the moral consciousness. He speaks about the spiritual consciousness, indicating the sitaro se aage jahan aur bhi hai, beyond scientific inquiry, beyond the scientific method, there is more knowledge than the Western world dreams of. And I hope Aligarh is listening. So do please read that book, The Mujaddid's Conception of Tawheed, and the opening chapters where he speaks about the different worlds of consciousness in a human being. And read my teacher's masterpiece, The Quranic Foundations and Structure of Muslim Society. This book, this masterpiece in 2 volumes, is available in India at a much cheaper price than elsewhere in the world. All my books are available in India. MashaAllah, I thank Allah for the brother who did the work. And they are available in India at a much cheaper price than is available elsewhere in the world. And I was blessed to be a student of both of these men. Burhan Ahmad Farooqi, Dr. Burhan Ahmad Farooqi, was my teacher of the philosophy of history. And that was the foundation of part of the foundation of my Islamic scholarship. You can't study Islamic eschatology unless you understand the philosophy of history from the Qur'an. And Muhammad Fazlur Rahman Ansari, Maulana Ansari, may Allah have mercy on his soul, was my teacher who taught me how to study the Qur'an. We don't have the time in this brief address to study the methodology, the methodology for study of the Quran that our Darul Ulooms are not working on. They don't even understand it because it requires Majma'ul Bahrain to study the Quran. And my teacher, Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari, did more than teach me how to study the Quran. He also taught me how to deal with the hadith in relation to the Quran. If a hadith is in harmony with the Quran, when we study the Quran the way the Quran has to be studied, we accept that hadith. But if a hadith is in conflict with the Quran, after you have studied the Quran the way that the Quran has to be studied, then we do not accept that hadith. If a hadith is neither in harmony with the Quran nor in conflict with the Quran, there is no reason for us to discard it. We will accept it. But you do not use such hadith to divide the Muslim community and to create a new sect. You don't do that. You don't build a house of scholarship based on such hadith. And so I am grateful that I have been the student. Allah bless me to be the student of these two men. But Allah blessed me beyond that, that I learned on my own that the way that we recite the Quran was wrong. And as a result of the blessing that Allah conferred upon me, I was able to discover the way that Allah recited the Quran, the Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And you cannot study the Quran the way the Quran must be studied unless you are reciting the Quran the way the Quran must be recited. Today was the 7th day of the month of Rabiul Thani here in Trinidad. I don't know about India. So on this day, I had to recite Surah Al-Anfal. And then I had to recite Surah Tawbah. This was my juz, or part of the Quran, to recite on this day. Which scholar of Islam says that? Huh? Because we were reciting the Quran the wrong way. But I don't have the time to spend on this subject because there's so much more to talk about today in the short time that I have. Salman didn't give me much time today. When you recite the Quran the way to recite the Quran must be recited, only then you can truly study the Quran. The Quran is alive. The Quran watches you. The Quran knows how faithful you are to the Quran. My book entitled The Quran and the Moon, Quran or Chand, Quran and Chand. It teaches you how to recite the Quran. When you recite the Quran with the moon, the way Allah recited it, then eventually you will live with the moon. Chand ke saath jeena hai, to live with the moon. And then you will enter into the sacred world of time. The heart will beat with the rest of Allah's creation in the sacred world of time, which is different from Dajjal's secular world of time. Ask anyone, how old are you? And he'll give you the answer that is based upon the solar calendar. But Allah says in the Quran that He gave us the moon, لِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ وَالْحِسَابِ. I gave you the moon. I gave you night and day. لِتَعْلَمُوا, that you might be able to count the years. لِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ, that you might be able to count the years and compute time. Everybody today believes a month can have 28 days. What nonsense. And everybody believes that nonsense. Everybody today, even the PhDs, believe that a month can have 31 days. and they eat their biryani and go home and sleep comfortably while swallowing this falsehood that has come from Dajjal. Not at all. In the sacred system of time which has come from Allah, a month has 30 days, except that when at the end of the 29th day you look for the moon, if the moon is seen, then the month will have 29 days. And if the moon is not seen, then the month will continue for one more day. You don't have to look for the moon after. How many people are faithful to this system of time? The Quran tells us in Surah Al-Qiyamah, kindly check it out, in Surah Al-Qiyamah, that Allah says to Nabi Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. I don't have the time to give a tafsir. Don't hasten your tongue, O Muhammad, to make haste with this Quran. Inna alayna jama'ahu wa Qur'an. We are going to compile all the revelations together as a whole. فَإِذَا قَرَأْنَاهُ فَاتَّبِعْ قُرْآنَهُ. And when we have recited this Quran to you, O Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, you must follow that way of recitation. Let me repeat that. When we have recited this Quran to you, O Muhammad, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, you must follow that way of reciting. ثُمَّ إِنَّ عَلَيْنَا بَيَانًا. Then after that, after teaching you the recitation of the Quran, only then will we teach you the meaning of the Quran. So to study the Quran, you must first recite the Quran. Why is it so important to study the Quran? Of course, provided you travel to Majma al-Bahrain. Otherwise, you can't study the Quran. Why is it so important to study the Quran? That this must be the foundation of education and of knowledge. In the remaining time that I have, let me devote to this matter, to answer this question. Allah speaks in Surah An-Nahl of the Quran, and He says that we have sent down this Quran to explain all things. وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We have sent this Quran to explain all things. So the Quran must be the textbook with which you begin studies in the department of philosophy. It must be the textbook with which you begin studies in the department of psychology. It must be the textbook with which you begin studies in the department of philosophy and the department of politics and the department of economics. But you can't do that unless you have teachers who can go to the Quran to extract from the Quran the foundation for political science. I wish I had the time to teach all of that, but that's not for today. If the Quran is to explain all things, and if you want to be an educated person, not someone with a world of information, you know how to use a cell phone. I should have a cell phone somewhere. Oh, here we are. You know, this smartphone. I don't know how to use it properly. If I have to turn the flashlight on, I don't know how to do it. Yes. So I'm not that competent in this technology. But you have your PhD in computer science. Does that mean that you are educated? Huh? No. There's a difference between the acquisition of information and the processing of information and true education. The farmer in the field, he knows how to plant. The fisherman knows how to fish. He can teach me. He says, when you see the birds flying, there are fish there. I didn't know that. But in order for you to be educated, you have to have more than information. You have to have knowledge. In order for you to be an educated person with knowledge in the world today, you must be able to understand the reality of the world today. And most of all, you must be able to understand events unfolding in the world. And the Qur'an alone can explain that to us. Look at what is happening in Israel. Look at what is happening in Gaza today. How many of us are able to go to the Qur'an to understand what is happening in the world, in the Middle East? And the Qur'an calls that the Holy Land. We don't even remember the term Al-Ardul Muqaddasa. We use the term Palestine, we use the term Israel, we use the term Gaza. But how many people use the term the Holy Land? But in Surah Al-Ma'idah of the Quran, Nabi Musa alayhi salam spoke to the Israelite people and he said, Ya qawmi idkhulul ardal muqaddasata allati kataba Allahu lakum. If you go to my first response to the war in Israel, in that lecture, I explained in the second, the third response. Go and listen to those small, brief lectures, and you'll understand what the Quran is saying. Oh, my people, enter the holy land that Allah gave to you. Allah didn't promise it to them. Allah gave it to them, but He didn't give it to them unconditionally. He gave it to them conditionally. You must have faith in me and you must be righteous in your conduct. And every time they violated that covenant with the Lord God, Allah threw them out of the land. Twice He did it. But the last time He threw them out of the land, guess what He said in the Quran? If you come back to this holy land with your wickedness, with your oppression, I will come back with my punishment. That is there. That is there in Surah Al-Isra. If you return to this holy land with your wickedness, I will return with my punishment. How did the Jews return to the Holy Land? To reclaim it as their own, when Allah had expelled them and Allah had banned their return. He destroyed Jerusalem. He expelled the Jews. He banned their return to Jerusalem. This is there in Surah Al-Anbiya of the Quran. Is it not time for us to turn to the Quran for knowledge and for education, to understand the world today? وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. Allah speaks of a town. He does not identify the town. Why He did not identify the town? Because He sent this Quran to people who think. بِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. But there are those who say, no, 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 no. If it's not in the hadith, I'm not going to accept it. We are a people who refuse to think. You go to a Darul Uloom today and you start thinking, they'll expel you. If you go to a Darul Uloom today and you start to think, they will expel you. Allah did not identify the town. وَحَرَامٌ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ أَهْلَكْنَاهَا أَنَّهُمْ لَا يَرْجِعُونَ. He destroyed this town. He expelled the people of the town. He banned them from returning to this. They can come back as tourists, yes, but He banned them from returning to this town to reclaim this town as their own. You are banned, you cannot do it. Hatta, until when? Until when? When can they return to this town and to this land from which they were expelled? When? Hatta إِذَا فُتِحَتْ يَأْجُوجُ وَمَأْجُوجُ. until Gog and Magog are released. Futihat is to be released. Ba'atha means to send. Futihat means to release. Until Gog and Magog are released. Who are Gog and Magog? Allah speaks, not Nabi Muhammad. This is Hadithul Qudsi, the direct speech of Allah in Sahih Muslim. I have created creatures of mine, referring to Gog and Magog, who are so powerful that only I can destroy them. But these are people who use power differently from Zulkarnain. Zulkarnain is bestowed with power, and he used that power to punish the oppressor and to help those who have faith and reward them and who are righteous in conduct. But Gog and Magog use power to oppress and to corrupt and to destroy. And so when Gog and Magog are released into the world, they will bring these people back to that town to reclaim it as their own. Which town is it? Are you afraid of that question? You don't have enough backbone to answer that question? You're running away from that question? You don't have the competence to answer that question? It's such a simple question. Which town is connected with Gog and Magog? Which town is it? Did Nabi Muhammad والسلام, not say that Gog and Magog will be destroyed by Allah in Jerusalem? Did he not say that? That they will pass by the Sea of Galilee on their way to Baytul Maqdis? Yes, he said it. And Allah will destroy them in Jerusalem. There is only one town which is connected with Gog and Magog. How many times do we have to say this to you? Why are your feet stuck in concrete? Why do you refuse to think? And so the town is Jerusalem. That's our conclusion. If you differ with us, tell us which town is it? Why are you silent now when the Holy Land is in flames? Why are you silent if you are scholars of Islam? If the town is Jerusalem, then the people who were expelled were Jews. And they lived in exile for 2,000 years. Who brought them back to the Holy Land? Answer: it is a people who are given power, and they use that power to take control of the world. They spread out in all directions. Hatta إذا فتحت يأجوج ومأجوج وهم من كل حدب ينسلون. Did Iqbal knock your heads 100 years ago with Yansilun? Yes, Iqbal did it. Iqbal did what no Darul Uloom did. Kul gaye Ya'juj aur Ma'juj ke lashkar tamam. Listen to the words. Kul gaye Ya'juj aur Ma'juj ke lashkar tamam. Chashme Muslim dekh le tafsir harf yansilun. Iqbal is pointing to Jerusalem. That Gog and Magog have now been released. May Allah bless that scholarship of Iqbal, bless him for it. And my teacher, Muhammad Fazlur Rahman Ansari, confirmed that the town is Jerusalem, and I also came to that same conclusion. And I wrote my book, Jerusalem in the Qur'an. It's published in India. You can get it in India at a very cheap price. Yes. So now then, who are those who brought the Jews back to Jerusalem to reclaim it as their own? Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog. And so Gog and Magog are those who control power in the United States of America, who control power in Britain, who control power in France and Germany. Shall I continue? NATO is the military arm of Gog and Magog. What is Turkey doing in NATO? Have the armed forces of Pakistan, have they asked that question? Do they know anything about the Qur'an at all? The generals in the armed forces of Pakistan? And yet you are so in alliance with Turkey? Now then, if Gog and Magog are those who control power in the modern West, listen carefully to me. And if Allah is going to destroy them all in the Holy Land, then can you think that Allah must bring them to the Holy Land in order for them to be destroyed there? Let me repeat this for those of you who are listening to this lecture. And I'm so happy that my dear brother who studied with me under Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari Rahimahullah, who is a graduate of the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies, who went to do his PhD at Temple University in Philadelphia. My learned brother, Professor Dr. Abul Fadl Mohsin Ibrahim, who is a professor in Durban, he is one of the listening audience for this lecture today. So, assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. If Gog and Magog are those who control power in modern Western civilization, if NATO is the military arm of Gog and Magog, of course, President Erdogan in Turkey has no knowledge of this subject at all. Then does it make sense to you? If Allah is to destroy them in Jerusalem, then he has to find a way and means to bring them to Jerusalem. not virtually, not digitally, but boots on the ground, as they say. American troops have to enter the Holy Land. British troops have to enter the Holy Land. The age of Western imperialism has to come back in the Holy Land. It never ended. And so now you can probably understand why the government of Israel knew that the Islamic resistance was going to launch this war. The government of Israel, the Mossad probably helped to get the weapons, of course, secretly. Weapons, this great armada of weapons, this stock of weapons, state-of-the-art drones and missiles and so on, to get it into Gaza. They knew, and they probably helped it secretly. And when the attack was to be launched, they did not warn their people. And so maybe 1,000 people died who could have been saved. This is Pearl Harbor once again. This is 9/11 once again, false flag. So why did the government of Israel act in this mysterious way? Answer, because they have a plan ahead of them. The United States wanted to enter the Second World War. They needed an excuse. So in 1941, they allowed Japan to come and attack Pearl Harbor and destroy the American fleet. They knew the attack was coming, but they allowed it to take place because they wanted America to enter. They wanted public opinion to support American intervention in the war. The 9/11 took place. They knew it was coming. They allowed it to happen. And so many people lost their lives, except those who were warned in advance, and they did not go to work that day because they had a plan to attack Afghanistan, attack Iraq, and so on. So what is the plan today? In my first response to the war in Israel, I argued that the plan is to get this war to expand. That Israel is going to eventually not only launch missiles all over Gaza and kill thousands of people. That's just the beginning. They're going to have a ground offensive as well. They're going to enter Gaza with ground troops. And when they do that, Hezbollah in Lebanon will not be able to stay out of the war. They have to do as much wickedness as they can do to force Hezbollah to enter the war. They want Hezbollah to enter the war. Why? Because that is the road to Iran. They want to attack Iran. They want to denuclearize Iran, destroy the missiles of Iran for Israel's security. What is going to happen if there is an attack against Hezbollah and Iran? I have said in my first video, Iran will instantly become a nuclear power with nuclear weapons. I said that Iran will destroy all the oil installations in the Gulf because most of these Arab states in the Gulf, they want to see Iran destroyed. They have a paper friendship with Iran now, paper. They want to see Iran destroyed. So Iran will attack and destroy all the oil installations. But what I did not mention in my first video, I forgot, is that Iran is going to block the Straits of Hormuz. The price of oil is going to escalate, maybe the next 1 week from this lecture, maybe 2 weeks. The price of oil is going to escalate in the world, $300-400 a barrel. Why should the value of money fall if the price of oil escalates? No dollar alone can answer that question. They have failed on Gog and Magog. They have failed miserably on the subject of money. They'll have to answer to Allah for their failure. All these darulums, they fail. Because the money which has come from the Western world is bogus, it's fraudulent, it's haram, it is the road to slavery, impoverishment, destitution, and slavery. When the money of the value of money falls, money is going to rise. The prices are going to rise. Inflation, runaway inflation. Here in Trinidad, we pay maybe $5, $8 a pound for a pound of tomatoes. After that war begins, when the Straits of Hormuz are blocked and the Arab oil installations are destroyed, I said maybe here in Trinidad we have to pay $100 for a pound of tomatoes. Here I've given you, in the time that has been given to me, my time is coming to an end now. I'm giving you an Islamic eschatological explanation of the reality of events unfolding in the world based on my study of the Quran and to the Hadith to the extent that is in harmony of the Quran. Here is an example of what knowledge and education could do. I am expecting the war to expand and to expand soon. I don't want it to expand because it's going to be horrendous for all of mankind. But I have a duty to anticipate what is coming based on an understanding, a penetration of the reality of what is happening today. This is the value of having the Quran as the foundation of education and of knowledge. I thank you for this honor to address you today at Aligarh. I visited Aligarh once when I was a student in Pakistan. I even went to Aftab Hostel, where my teacher was once the warden of the Aftab Hostel. But I only spent 1 day at Aligarh, and I don't think I'll ever be able to return to India. But I have, I believe, many students in India. And maybe, inshallah, my students in India, Dr. Muhammad Salman, Imtiaz, and others, may Allah bless them to be part of the last shower of rain. My ummah, said Nabi Muhammad, is like the rain, sallallahu ta'ala. Meri ummat barish jaise. My ummah is like the rain. मैं ये नहीं जानता क्या पहले बारिश बरसा है या आखिरी. I don't know. It's not known which shower is better, the first or the last. That last shower of rain must have a military component. And of course, it's Afghanistan and the areas around Afghanistan, which can fight. But that last shower of rain must have a scholarly component. And that scholarly component can come only from the scholarship. In my opinion, I can be wrong, but I'm saying can only come from the model of scholarship that came from Iqbal through Rumi. And that light was there in Aligarh. And from Aligarh came Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, who was my teacher. So maybe that light will shine again at Aligarh. And we must see those coming from Aligarh will be a part of the last shower of rain. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallahu khairan, Sheikh. And inshallah, we will try to make ourselves as you have mentioned. And indeed, Quran is the only base through which we can learn other subject. As Sheikh, you have mentioned Majma al Bahrain. As a university, we should try to reach there in terms of scholarship. Inshallah. First of all, it's been an honor for all of us, Sheikh, to listen you in a live session. And secondly, it's been an insightful lecture which will bring a positive composures in ourselves, an increase in our knowledge as a Muslim, inshallah, in the paradigm of this specific topic of Quran is the foundation for higher education. And Sheikh, we are very thankful to you as you have explained us briefly in a very short span of time about the Islamic resistance which is happening in Holy Land of Palestine. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help those who are positively contributing in this Islamic resistance. Now it's time for question and answer session. Ustad, there are following questions which I am asking you on behalf of the audience. Can we start the question and answer session, Ustad?
Yes, please. So.
The first question is, has boycotting Israeli products helped or will it help us overall? Is there any hadith mentioning the arrival of Imam Mahdi before the Dajjal?
Oh, please ask one question at a time, only one.
Okay.
The religion of Islam, which came to the world with Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, with Nabi Musa alayhi salam, with Nabi Dawood alayhi salam, Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, Nabi Muhammad alayhi salam, the one religion which has come from Allah. That one religion establishes a market. And the market, it insists, must be a free and a fair market. The market does not distinguish between enemy and friend. The enemy is allowed to come in the market and sell and buy, yes. And when the enemy comes to the market to buy and sell, even though he's your enemy, when you enter into the market does not distinguish between friend and enemy. The market does not distinguish between a Muslim and a Hindu and a Christian and a Jew. All have a level, equal playing field in the market. And the government never intervenes in the market to fix prices. This is the weakness of socialism. But Jawaharlal Nehru did not do enough studies in Britain. And so he was enamored of socialism. And India began her journey as an independent post-British state as a socialist state. And Venezuela did the same thing. The Soviet Union gave us socialism as well. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto in Pakistan, socialism. So no, we do not intervene in the market. We do not boycott any products in the market unless those products are not allowed in a market, which are harmful to human health. If you steal and you bring your stolen goods in the market, we will not allow you to sell in the market. Okay? If you are unfair in your trading practices, that you are subsidizing your farmers and they are able to produce their product, their crop at a cheaper price than others who are not being subsidized. We will not allow such products into our market. Okay? France and Spain have a war going on, a business war going on at this time, because the Spanish farmers are producing grapes from which they make wine, and they're doing it at a substantially cheaper price than the French farmers because of trading practices which are not permitted in France but permitted in Spain. And so the French farmers are right and justified in seeking to prevent such products from entering into the French market. Similarly, we have never used trade as a weapon. We have never used trade as a weapon. No, because the market must remain a free and a fair market. But the Americans don't know about truth. They don't have any conception of truth in economics. And so the Americans and the French and the Germans and the Spanish and so on, they engage in this massively sinful activity of imposing economic sanctions on mankind. Anyone they consider to be a threat to them, they impose economic sanctions upon them. But Allah says in the Quran, Jaza'u sayyi'atun mithluha. When you can conduct yourselves in your business in such a sinful way, one day you will have to drink your own poison. This is what Putin says. So this is my brief answer to you, that I disagree with the boycott of any goods from any country unless and until it is an unfair trading practice or it is a haram product. Next question. I can't hear you.
Next question is, higher education is research oriented and technology oriented, but technology is the brainchild of Dajjal. So how can the Quran play a role in higher education? As per the lesson from Surah Al-Kahf, respected Sheikh, you said to move towards the mountains and rural areas to escape the Dajjal.
Two questions and go on again.
Actually, the question is related.
Technology, it is not correct to say that technology has come from Dajjal. In Surah Al-Namal of the Quran, Nabi Sulaiman alayhi salam is ruling over an Israel, which is the ruling state in the world. And in Yemen, there is the kingdom of Sabah. And the ruler is a woman. but Allah did not create women to rule. And she has they worship the sun, and she has a very splendid throne. And he commands to the members of his court, who can bring her throne for me before she comes? And Ifrit of the jinn, who perhaps was the most powerful of all the jinn, he said, I can bring that throne to you before you rise from your court. Between Jerusalem and Yemen is a distance of about 2,000 kilometers. But the jinn is able to penetrate different worlds of space and time. And the jinn says, I can cover that distance and bring this object, this huge object, through space in such a short, brief period of time. Okay? But then someone in the court who had the knowledge of the book, the kitab, the ilmul kitab, ilmul min al kitab. It is not, this kitab is not the Qur'an. It's not the Zabur, it's not the Injil, you can check it out. These books do not give you knowledge of aerodynamics. But he said, I can bring that throne for you in the twinkling of an eye, meaning in a very, very brief period of time. And he brought it. So there is a book with Allah, with the knowledge of how to travel through space at lightning speed and to bring objects through space at lightning speed. Today, that knowledge has reached Russia. Today, Russia has hypersonic missiles that NATO does not have. Although the Americans are sending their warships and the aircraft carriers and missiles and Patriot missiles and so on to Israel and to the bases around Israel, and the British and the French are soon going to start doing the same thing. An armada ready of ships and weapons and so on, now proceeding towards that region of the world. Russia is not going to intervene. China is not going to intervene. The war will take place, but Russia will not intervene. But Russia has the capacity with these missiles, hypersonic missiles, to be able to destroy, and also nuclear weapons, to destroy the whole of the United States of America in half an hour. That's what Putin said. Did Dajjal give that knowledge, that technology to Russia? No. No, Dajjal didn't do it. It's Allah who did it. So it's not correct to say that all technology has come from Dajjal.
Sheikh, another question is from the student of Aligarh Muslim University. According to you, Sheikh, what is the advice to the young generation of Ummah in this modern world of so much fitna and war and chaos all around?
Are you talking about the Indian Muslims?
Yes.
The Indian Muslims. They are part of this subject which I can speak to you publicly, and another part which I cannot. That part which is public is to remind Hindu India that Muhammad Ali Jinnah was called the ambassador of Hindu-Muslim unity. Sarojini Naidu praised him, the Indian poetess, praised him. He was a great friend of Jinnah. And Jinnah remained faithful to the Indian National Congress. Yes, for so many years of his life. The only reason why Jinnah parted from the Indian National Congress, because he had legal integrity And he realized that if India wins freedom from Britain and becomes an independent state, without sufficient safeguards, legal safeguards, for the protection of the Muslim minority in India, they will be oppressed. And he asked, and he asked, and he asked Gandhi. And Gandhi said, I am at loss. I don't know what to do. This is Gandhi's answer. I don't know what to do. I can't solve this problem. That is Gandhi's answer. If the leader of the Hindus confesses, I don't know what to do, I can't solve this problem, it means that Hindu India did not allow Jinnah to be able to participate in the struggle for the independence of India with this sword hanging over the Muslims. And that is why the Muslim League opted for Pakistan. And that was the right choice they had to make. If the leaders of the Indian National Congress had the wisdom and the sense that the Ottoman Empire had in Turkey, in Constantinople, to allow the minorities to have their freedom to live their lives as Muslims, as Christians, without being oppressed by the state. This is what the Ottoman Empire did, and the Ottoman Empire had the credit of it, except that they oppressed the Armenians. They should not have done that. But most of the time, the Armenians were living safely in the Ottoman Empire. So if the Indian National Congress had given some assurance, legal assurance, constitutional assurance, there would have been no Pakistan, none. What Jinnah should have done when Pakistan came into being, the day that Pakistan came into being, he should have made this announcement that this was not our choice. No, our choice was to live in fraternity, Hindus and Muslims living in fraternity. You did not allow us to achieve this choice. But we are saying to you today from Pakistan that any day that you open the door, any day that you open the door for us to be reunited in fraternity, we will enter that door. This is what Jinnah should have done. But he was in the last days of his life. And there was total chaos when Pakistan was being born. There was so much slaughter, so we cannot blame him. But from the day that Pakistan was born to this day, you've never had a leader with that kind of insight to address Hindu India and to say to Hindu India that we did not want this separation, we did not want this partition. You caused it. And any day that you open the door for us to return, and that we, our two peoples, should live in fraternity with each other, with no oppression of each other, we will enter that door. That's the first thing that should be done. And Muslims of India should try to impress on Pakistan that this is the road forward. Secondly, if there is truth in Hinduism, and you're able to recognize it in the Vedas, as Ram Mohan Roy recognized it in his Brahmo Samaj movement in Bengal. Even the Arya Samaj movement, which was hostile to Islam, they recognized it. One God in Vedas, one God. Then our duty is to recognize that truth and respect it, and try to take those who accept that one truth, that there is but one God, to now expand on that one truth and to be able to grow into more and more truth. That is wisdom, that is intelligence. But to take up a lathi, a ram, and start beating up Hinduism and mocking the Hindus in debates and so on, It's stupidity, it's foolishness. This is the second thing that Muslims in India can do. Show respect for truth that there is still in Islam. And the third thing that I advise, this is the public part of the private part I can't tell you, is that the Hindus of India, they never invited the Muslims to come and rule over them. I never saw the invitation card. If you find it, can you show it to me? Send it to me. The invitation card when Hindu India invited Afghanistan, come and invade over us and come and rule over us. The Mughals, come and rule over us. We can't rule over us. We need you to come and rule. Huh? It's bogus thing. This is bogus jihad. And for you to praise bogus jihad is shameful and disgraceful. Islam is not imperialism. So there was a dagger planted into the heart of the Hindu people, and the wound is still bleeding. That's why there are those who assassinated Gandhi. They assassinated him. Yes, because the blood is still bleeding. They gave the Pakistan cricket team a very hard time in Ahmedabad. They were shouting slogans against them in Ahmedabad just last week.
Yes.
So you will be able to stop some of that blood from bleeding if you denounce Muslim rule over India as imperialism and as bogus jihad. Apologize to them for Muslim rule over India. That will help.
We will keep your advice, Sheikh. Another question is, if we establish Islamic model village, then still we would need some means to trade with external world outside the village, which accepts only the bogus paper money. How should we deal with it?
If you are building a village in India and you can build it as a Muslim Hindu village, that is preferable to having it as an exclusive Muslim village. When Hindus and Muslims are able to come together to live fraternally, then you can build that village. That'll be a safer place than having it as an exclusive Muslim village. Number one. Number two, when you build your village, you have to be self-sufficient in food, in water, and in energy. Self-sufficient. In your village, if you continue to use the Indian rupee and the Bangladeshi taka and the Pakistani rupee, you will be eventually enslaved, because this money was created for the purpose of enslaving you. The Indian government has shown a lamentable ignorance or lack of capacity to study this subject when they became the guinea pigs of Wall Street, when they demonetized the 500 rupee Indian note, and I think also the 1,000 rupee Indian note. Both, yeah. This was a trial run to see how it will work, because in the end you want to get away. They want to get rid of all paper money and make all money transactions digital, so they can now totally enslave you. The minute you step out of the line, they will freeze your account and you can do nothing about it. They will seize all your money. You can do nothing about it. And you deserve that because of your stupidity. So you have to turn away from their bogus money. If you're not allowed to use dinar and dirham, if the law does not permit it and the police will come to stop you, then what you do is you start to use rice as money, use wheat as money. And they won't be so stupid to come and ban the use of rice and wheat, articles of food consumption. And this is why our Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, gold for gold, silver for silver, wheat for wheat, barley for barley, dates for dates, salt for salt. They've not been able to even understand, much less to explain this study. Yes, what all six articles mentioned were used as money. And that's why if you have 1 kilogram of dates on this side, you cannot have 2 on that side. That's why he said to Bilal, radiallahu ta'ala, this is the essence of riba. You must read my book on the prohibition of riba in the Qur'an and Sunnah. And when you are using articles of food consumption with a shelf life and with a sufficiently abundant supply in the market, and you have problems, you can then turn to barter, as they've done in Indonesia so often, barter. But the first preference is dinar and dirham. When you have to trade with the outside world, there is no other option than to have a means whereby you can trade with them through digital money or paper money or electronic money or whatever. You can't avoid that. Go ahead.
Sheikh, one question is, Sheikh, there are so many questions, but as per the limitations of time, now we are asking just 2 questions, and rest we will mail you if time will be possible for you. Then we will have the discussion. And the question is, if Yajuj and Majuj, Gog and Magog, launch this war on Iran as expected by many sincere analyzers, what will be the reaction of Russia and China?
I just said it. I said the plan, the divine plan, is to make the Americans intervene with troops in the land, American military sucked into this region. When they listen to this lecture, they will probably realize what I'm saying to be a threat to them. Okay, they're probably not thinking about it. I can't help saying what I'm saying because I have to give the knowledge that Allah has blessed me with. That Allah Ta'ala has a plan. And He's sucking them into the region. So I expect in the days to come, weeks to come, I expect that the war will expand. This is what Israel wants. And as the war expands, then the Americans are going to be a part of the war, and the British will be a part of the war, and the French and so on, and NATO. But I don't expect that Russia or China will ever intervene in that war. No.
One more last question, Sheikh. Being an Indian...
Last question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Being an Indian Muslim, what should be our role in this Islamic resistance which is going on in Holy Land of Palestine?
You have to repeat it. I didn't hear the question. Indian Muslim should...
Being an Indian Muslim, what should be our role in this Islamic resistance which is going on in Holy Land of Palestine?
The Indian Muslims should look to see what happened. As soon as the war started, the Prime Minister of India showed what is in his heart. He made it plain and clear. He said that India stands in solidarity with Israel. It is not possible for the foreign ministry to withdraw those words. Although the foreign minister of India is a very competent man. The foreign ministry has competent people. But you can do what you want. You can bring all the water in the world. You can't wash away those words. So this is what the Prime Minister said, that India now stands in solidarity with Israel. this was abandoning the Palestinians. The foreign ministry realized the blunder which the prime minister made and then rushed to effect something called damage control. And if you look at all the moves which have been coming forth from the foreign ministry in India since the prime minister made that statement, you could see that they engage in damage control. Why? Because there will be negative implications around the world for India, and also negative implications within India. So while there will be one part of Hindu India whose hatred for Islam is persistent, and they will want to remain publicly proclaiming their solidarity with Israel, there's another part of Hindu India which will not be like that. A more intelligent Hindu India, a Hindu India which is more faithful to truth in Hinduism, a Hindu India who has greater respect for Mahatma Gandhi and for other leaders of India, and for the great scholars and spiritual leaders of India who show their character when they oppose oppression. And the Indian Muslims now should concentrate on arguing the case that this is oppression. If you can be convincing in your arguments and your demonstration that we oppose oppression in the Holy Land, that will help you in your cause to also win support against oppression in Kashmir.
Jazakallah khair, Ustad. And we will try to implement your advice. Sheikh, thanks a lot for this insightful live session, and your knowledge of Islamic eschatology enlightened all of us. And one important announcement regarding the books of Sheikh Imran Hosein. We are having an Indian publisher. So those who are interested in the books of Sheikh, then they can order from there, as there is a huge difference on Amazon and from this local seller in the India, as the book of Jerusalem in the Quran is around 2280 INR on Amazon, and on this local seller I have ordered is just 680 INR. So after the lecture, we will share the catalog and other details of the publisher in our WhatsApp group. And those who are not on the group, then I'm telling you the email of the publisher whom you ask the catalog and order your book. It's shahzamanbooks@yandex.com. Please, I can write in the chat box so you can easily access. It's shahzamanbooks@yandex.com. Now I call Sheikh Saifullah Tayyab, who is a student of Bachelor in Sciences, to conclude this informative live session. Saifullah Tayyab.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi barakatuhu. Respected Sheikh, on behalf of the entire Aligarh community and fraternity, I express my heartfelt gratitude to you for making time for us amongst your busy schedule. Special thanks for imparting wisdom and knowledge to the people in Aligarh, as well as to the audience who have joined us from various corners of the world. Your inspiring and motivating words have carved a deep impact on our souls and forced us to dwell upon ourselves. I hope that people will surely try to implement the insightful lessons learned from this session in their professional and personal spheres of life in order to achieve ultimate mental and spiritual success. Also, during this time of dreadful crisis and difficulty, we should be grateful to the Almighty as we are fortunate enough to attend this session from the comfort of our homes while our brothers and sisters in Palestine are deprived of basic necessities like food, water, electricity, and medical aid, and are compelled to fight for their lives. Let us join hands and stand by our brothers in Palestine by making dua for them with utmost sincerity and integrity, as we all are aware that dua is the most powerful weapon possessed by a believer. In addition to this, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless you with good health and prosperity so that we can continue to get the opportunity to learn, comprehend, and educate ourselves with your words of profound knowledge and wisdom, and to have your guidance and mentorship during these times of grim crisis. We also pray to have a positive environment in our country, which would give us the opportunity to welcome, meet, and learn from you in person as well, inshallah. So as to conclude this wonderful live session, once again, I would like to thank respected Sheikh Imran Nazar Hosein for motivating us with his thoughts, advice, and guidance. And to the audience who has joined us, I hope this session was as enlightening and eye-opening to you as it was for us. We hope to see you all in the upcoming session soon. May Allah accept our good deeds and make us among the righteous, protects us from the fierce fire of hell, and grant us the highest rank in Jannah. Fi amanallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.
Ameen.
Okay.
Jazakallahu khair, Sheikh,
Jazakallah.
for giving us your
Okay.
precious time.
All right.
And thanks to all the audience. Jazakallahu khair. Fi amanillah. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
All
alaikum.
right. Walaikum assalam.
السلام عليكم.
Walaikum assalam.
السلام عليكم.
Walaikum
Sheikh.
Walaikum
السلام عليكم
assalam.
السلام عليكم.
All right.
السلام
All
عليكم.
right. Walaikum
السلام
assalam.
عليكم شيخ.
السلام عليكم
شيخ.
Walaikum
السلام
assalam.
عليكم شيخ.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.
Okay.
السلام عليكم Sheikh.
So it's time to wind up the session.
مع السلامة.
Okay.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay.
السلام عليكم أستاذ.
مع السلامة.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم شيخ.
Oh, Daddy.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم مولانا.
Hassan Mahmoud.
Hassan, yeah.
Hassan Mahmoud. Walaikum assalam.
Can I ask a question?
عليكم شيخ.
Can I ask a
Yes,
question?
No, okay. We finished now, yeah.
Oh, okay.
السلام عليكم
Finished
شيخ.
now.
How are you?
Okay. All right. Okay. MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh, from America. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalam. Yeah.
السلام عليكم شيخ.
Okay. Okay. MashaAllah. Okay. All right. Okay. Time to go now. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Okay.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم
وعليكم
السلام
السلام.
ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم
السلام عليكم
Okay.
شيخ.
All right.
السلام ورحمة الله.
Okay.
وعليكم
All right.
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Walaikum assalam. Yeah.
مع السلامة.